All right, good evening. If everyone can start to make their way to their seats, we will get started in about 30 seconds. 30 seconds. All right. Good evening and welcome. My name is Mandy Remmel, Director for Baltimore County Executive Johnny Olszewski's Office of Community Engagement. It is a pleasure to welcome all of you here for our 6th Budget Town Hall series. Having open and honest conversations with the people of Baltimore County about their budget priorities sustains our commitment to the accessible and responsive government that our residents deserve. We strive to build a better Baltimore County together by focusing on sustainable and equitable opportunities for all. Our budget determines our priorities and aspirations for the upcoming year, and we're proud to continue holding conversations with our residents so that they can remain an essential part of this process. Before we begin, I'd like to take this opportunity to acknowledge and thank Parkville High School Principal, Ms. Astrida, for their hospitality and for hosting this evening's town hall. Principal Astrida, you can come on up here. There she is. Oh, there she is. Sorry. Looking over there.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So again, I just want to take a moment and welcome you all to Parkville High School. We are very excited to always open our doors to host such an important event, especially the discussion around what drives all the goals and aspirations of Baltimore County. Johnny O and I worked together years and years ago when we both started out in education, so I'm excited to be part of this and really have him in my house with all of you. So enjoy your evening. I look forward to hearing the dialogue tonight.
Tonight we will begin our fiscal year 2025 budget discussions here in District 6, hosted by your county executive, Johnny Olszewski, and your county councilman, Councilman Mike Ertel. After the county executive's budget presentation, our residents will have an opportunity to share their budget-related priorities within the allotted time of 90 seconds at one of the designated microphones located here in front of the auditorium. The county executive, department head, or Councilman Ertel will listen to your inquiries, concerns, and ideas. If we cannot answer a question this evening, we will have a coordinator from the Office of Community Engagement or designated department representative follow up with you. Tonight's town hall will conclude by 8:30 p.m. Those who are unable to provide their testimony in person by 8:30 may submit their request for consideration by emailing townhall@baltimorecountymd.gov. We will also show the email at the end of the budget presentation. If you have come tonight with a group, we ask that you please designate one spokesperson to share your group's budget priority. Group members may stand in support when your priority is being shared. If you have already heard the same budget priority shared this evening, we ask that you defer your time so we can hear as many priorities as possible. And now, it is my honor to welcome your county councilman, Mr. Mike Ertel.
Good evening, everyone. How are you? I'm really happy that we're having this year at Parkville High School, right in the middle of the district. Wanted to say a little shout out. My colleague and chairman of the county council is here tonight with us. Izzy Patoka, Councilman Patoka is here. Also, Delegate Carl Jackson is with us tonight. And Carl is from the 8th District, and Sue Parts, who is here for Delegate Kathy Forbes, is here also. So just wanted to ask, I see people from all over the district. Who do we have here tonight from Parkville? You can shout out if you're from the community. So, Parkville. Okay. How about Loch Raven Village? One of the greatest things about our district is we have very strong communities across a wide spectrum of the district, and it's very diverse. And it's really an honor to be able to represent this district because we have Izzy uses in the second district. The the beautiful second district. And I always struggle because, I'm the new councilman. What am I going to call the sixth? And I think we should have two sayings. It should be the strong and the scenic sixth district. So, because we have some great communities. Anyone here from Loch Raven Village? Anyone? No? Wow. Well, I'll get you. Linover. I know someone's here from Linover, right? How about Annesley and Towson? No one? Overley. Woo! Overley's in the house. Hazelwood Park East. Anyone? No? I know I have Hamiltown here. How about Middle River? Eggbirth Manor. I know that you're here. Oh, good. Rosedale. Anybody from Rosedale? Oh, good. Rosedale's in the house. East Towson? Fellowship Forest? Gaywood? Glendale, Glenmont. Oh, my God. All right. Highland Hill. I know you're here. Highland Hill? No shout out from Highland Hill? All right. Villa Cresta. Harford Park. I know you're here. Woo! All right. Knollwood. Anybody from Knollwood? Nice. Kings Ridge. Hillendale Park. Rogers Forge. Rogers Forge. Oh, good. Stoneleigh. Nice. West Towson. Anybody from West Towson? Woo! How about Victory Villa? Wiltondale. Nice. Yorkley. Anybody I missed? Highland Hill. I said Highland Hill. Nobody. Oh, I said it funny. Okay. Sorry. Well, I'll be very brief. We have been working really hard in the 6th District with the county executive. I have to give the county exec a lot of credit. He has really turned some attention to communities that have been neglected for a long time. We've done a lot of things from rehabbing some parks, and we got more coming. We built a new school over at Red House Run. We're building a new, I guess it's Nottingham Middle. Is that what we're calling it? We're building a new middle school, first new middle school in the county forever. A lot of good things going on in the county and in our district. Tonight is really your night. We want to hear from you, good and bad. We have all the department heads here to hear. We all get to hear what you have to say. And so tonight's really your night. So I'll get off the stage and bring up the county executive, John Olszewski.
I told Councilman Ertel he's got to stay up so I can embarrass him for just a second. For those of you who don't already know Mike, and I think many of the community leaders here do because you're engaged and you're active and you work with our office and the councilman's office, but I just want to say what a joy it is to have someone who has come in with a vigor and an energy to advocate for all of the communities across District 6. I've really been impressed by the ways in which Mike and his team understand that there are different needs and opportunities across all of the unique communities in District 6 and across the county. So I wanted to just publicly say thank you for your advocacy for your residents, but also for all of Baltimore County, Mike. So thank you very much. Appreciate you.
Yeah, 1 second. 1 second. I also forgot to introduce my illustrious staff. Heather Benassi and Anne Marie Humphreys are in the front row here. So if you need them, they'll be here tonight as well. Thank you, County Exec.
Also, just want to thank all the other electeds and their staff, especially Delegate Jackson. I know you all are in session. Delegate Forbes made it to the town hall last week. I think it's a real testament to both your dedication that you're showing up, even though you're in the midst of a very busy session. If last week is any guide, we actually will talk about some state issues tonight because they do affect what we're doing here in Baltimore County, so I'm looking forward to that. Principal Astorita, thank you for opening your house. It's good to visit you here in the house that we used to share over in eastern Baltimore County, but thrilled to be here with you. I want to thank our administrative officer, Stacy Rogers, and the entire department head team for their presence. It really is important that not just I and Councilman Ertel hear from all of you, but we also want all of the highest levels of government to be present to understand what the needs and desires are of our communities across Baltimore County. So here to give you a brief overview of where we are, where we're going, and then we'll turn things over to you. You know, if you know anything about me, you know that I believe an open, connected, and accessible government is one that serves communities best. And rather than spend a lot of time talking about what we've done, I do think sort of the litany of accomplishments between comprehensively and bipartisanly closing a significant structural deficit that was buried in a footnote, having this signature series, and I want to thank our Office of Community Engagement for their incredible amount of work to set these up and staff them, passing ethics reform, significant investments in our public schools, which we'll talk about, sustainability, housing, and open space and agriculture. Just really proud of how, in partnership with our communities, we have changed things. Let's talk about where the money comes from in our budget and where it goes. Our operating budget is one of two budgets. We have an operating budget and a capital budget. The operating budget are those day-to-day operational things, so hence the name, where we are spending on salaries and pensions and the programs that deliver the goods and services and needs of our county. They pay for the contractors. They pay for the day-to-day operations of county government. It is funded primarily through property and income taxes. If there is ever any extra money in the operating budget, it usually goes towards what is called pay-as-you-go capital, which is basically capital that is paid out of that operating fund. But it's a one-time expense, so we're not baking in a sustained cost into the long-term projections of our budget. That's $4.4 billion in our current fiscal year. All of the things I referenced in the budget presentation tonight will be based on the current budget in which we're operating. In addition to the operating budget, we also have our capital budget, which from fiscal 24 to 29 is another $3.2 billion. That is primarily funded through bonds and the cash that we talked about in PAYGO, but primarily those bonds, the referenda that you all vote on every election. So in November, there will be more requests for borrowing for schools, for roads and sewers, and all of the infrastructure needs. This is all of the school projects, the police stations, the community centers, the recreation and park costs, and then, of course, the repair and maintenance of things like our water and sewer systems. We also have been very lucky, thanks to our federal delegation, in response to the COVID-19 pandemic. We were awarded both CARES dollars that helped us get through the vaccination and the testing and the PPE, and then there was a second batch passed, which was called the American Rescue Plan. For Baltimore County, that meant $160 million of additional spend to sustain those investments in vaccination efforts, personal protective equipment, investing in our frontline employees, but then also thinking about recovery and going into neighborhoods, as the councilman said, and trying to really lift up all of the communities that have been left behind, that the pandemic really highlighted had been left behind. And so we're proud to say that 99% of that allocation has been put aside and is planned for. We are saving a little bit of money just for any last-minute changes, but there is also a dashboard that you can visit, and you can see by category and by program where that money is going, just like we do with our budget in general. Let's talk about what collectively that means for our communities. Education is the thing that I have always been so proud to talk about as a former public school teacher, along with Principal Astorita. Not forgetting that as the proud parent of a second-year-old, second grader in our public school system, and as county executive. This year's current budget is the largest increase of maintenance of effort, which is the state-mandated bare minimum you spend. We are $71 million above what the state said we have to spend this fiscal year alone. It is the largest in dollar, and it is the largest by percentage in Baltimore County's history. And that's on top of several years of of significant increases of maintenance of effort. So thank you, Councilman Ertel, Chair Patoka, for your support of these investments in our classroom. We're taking a comprehensive approach to how we use those dollars. Baltimore County teachers, for example, have gone from middle of the pack to among the highest paid in the state. We had the second highest starting salary for teachers in the state of Maryland. We were not there 5 years ago when we started this conversation. We're investing holistically with paraeducators. Prior year budgets also added social workers, counselors, pupil personnel workers, all of the wraparound supports in addition to the teachers that support our schools. We recently announced $1 million to help diversify our teaching population so that our teachers look like the students they're serving, and just very proud of the work that we're doing. I want to thank and commend Superintendent Rogers, has been a tremendous partner. She's been responsive. She is working with us to try to continue that investment in the years ahead. In addition to investing in our people, we're also investing in the facilities in which our children learn. We've committed over $3 billion over the next decade to improve and sustain the learning conditions of our classrooms. I know firsthand from having taught in a dilapidated trailer just how important these conditions are for our kids, for our families, for our educators, for our property values. So we're very proud that there is $210 million of capital funding in the current fiscal year budget. What that means locally for District 6 is a transformation for all of our schools. There's $215 million towards a like-new Towson High School, so that is significant dollars going to fix that conditions of that school. We have a new roof at Parkville High. We've got $120 million. The councilman mentioned the new Red House Run Elementary School. We've got the new middle school coming online. More money for Rossville Elementary, Cromwell Valley, Shady Springs, and more. But very excited about the ways in which we've been able to support both the people of our school system and also the capital conditions. We know that education doesn't stop at K-12, and so we've also invested significantly in partnership with Dr. Curtinitis in our higher education opportunities at CCBC. Not only have we been able to freeze in-county tuition for all residents for the past 5 years, so there have been no tuition changes, we've also progressively been able to go to a place where we are now, for any family making $150,000 or less, we can say unequivocally, if you want to get a certificate, if you want to go to school part-time, if you want to go to school full-time, your community college is free to you. So very proud of our partnership there. Also proud of our partnership with the public library, with significant capital investments across the county, including both at Rosedale and Towson. There's $1.6 million. There's money at Pikesville and Woodlawn and Lansdowne to renovate and rehab. And our budgets continue to sustain what is now a fine-free library system. So we are leading the way in the state where we have eliminated fines, which makes it more accessible for people to feel comfortable to go to the library with a late book, to check out a book. And this has been something that a lot of other counties are looking to us for. In public safety, we also believe that in addition to the upstream investments at schools and libraries, we also believe very much in supporting the men and women who are our first responders and on the front lines. And so we have been very excited to put forward significant dollars, again, for our infrastructure, to put forward historic pay increases for our police, our fire, our 911 operators, our correctional officers, pretty significant increases for all of our public safety professionals. We're seeing results between supporting our public safety professionals and making those upstream investments. In this current year, we have seen a 15% decrease in homicides, for example, year over year, and a pretty substantial 47% decrease when compared against 2021. We want to continue our commitment to providing support for emergency responders and services. We have money for Golden Ring Fire Station improvements, Catonsville and Sparrows Point, and we have increased what had traditionally been about $1 million a year to the volunteer revolving loan fund to a $1.75 million investment in this year's budget. We are continuing to invest in sustainability. Locally, that means money for Mayflower Stream, shoreline stabilization efforts in District 6, We have a $500,000 county-wide floating wetlands project. We are in our DPWT and our waste facility. We're expanding textile and electronic recycling. We are continuing to invest in urban retree and street tree programs. Towson saw a significant amount of street trees. Communities throughout District 6 are going to be part of this urban tree reforestation program. Communities that have been underinvested. In eastern Baltimore County, we're continuing to fight midges, which is a very interesting thing. If you don't know about midges, we can talk about that offline. We're investing in water infrastructure, $45 million along Seminary and Reisterstown Road, and rehabs across Baltimore County. Very proud of the investments we're making in our park system. More than $63 million of parks and open space in this year's budget alone. That includes significant dollars for Holt Park in the district, money towards Six Bridges Northeast and the West East Trail improvements. We just broke ground on a brand new Hazelwood skate park, and then also we've done an emergency bridge replacement over at Riderwood Hills Park. I think in addition to all of that, as the councilman was referencing, as Councilman Ertel was referencing, we've also invested in things like playgrounds and tennis and court resurfacing. We use ARPA funding to replace basketball hoops at sites throughout Baltimore County. We're also making investments in lighting upgrades at parks throughout District 6, rehabbing and replacing fields. We're looking at the Tot Lot at Rogers Forge, and of course, pickleball everywhere. Who doesn't love more pickleball courts? I'll pass it along. As we're thinking about our investments in recreation and parks, we also are trying to make sure that we are making parks and recreation as accessible as possible to all of our residents. We are blessed by an abundance of talented, dedicated volunteers, both in our recreation and parks rec departments and rec leagues, but also with our nature councils who do incredible work. We are launching and rolling out a platform so that residents have a better sense of all of the amenities available to them so that they can have access to field space, understand all that we have, and that we are moving towards being a best-in-class jurisdiction, leveraging technology, following the requirements of our legal and ethical code, but also trying to be a best practice jurisdiction when it comes to rec and parks. On transportation, we continue to invest in the roads and the sidewalks that people rely on. Significant dollars for more sidewalks, for road improvements, $3.5 million for safety audits across the county, $40 million for road resurfacing and sidewalk improvements, local dollars for raised crosswalks at intersections across District 6. We've also unveiled a comprehensive bike and ped plan. It's the first in county's history. We're addressing 119 of shared use paths, 70 miles of on-road bikeways, and approximately 256 miles of long-term projects. So we have hundreds of thousands of dollars to start this work. We acknowledge that will require significantly more, and we want to hear from residents about how to prioritize those investments as well. We continue to be proud of the Towson Loop. It is the county's first fixed route transit service. It is absolutely free. We have now had over 150,000 riders. In addition, we continue to invest in our county ride program, now available on Saturdays for those who are interested in that program. We have also this year made that program absolutely free to use. We are preparing for the future with a new paver data management system for our roadways, where we are going and we are assessing every mile of roadway across Baltimore County. We want to make sure that we are being equitable in how we deploy our limited resources for things like road resurfacing, and we have done a significant job of addressing the needs despite significant state funding concerns, which I want to talk about briefly. So back in 2009, during the Great Recession, local governments were asked to take a pretty significant cut to something called highway user revenues, or HURs. These were dollars that the state basically entrusted counties with to make sure that we are maintaining the bridges and the roads and the sidewalks and investing in the bike lanes. And that was sort of a partnership that had been very successful. Prior to those cuts during the Great Recession, Baltimore County was getting about $45 million a year in highway user revenues. Fast forward to today's funding levels, we are getting about $13.8 million a year. And that number is with the fix that the governor had put in this year's transportation cuts. We would have actually been below than the $13.8 million prior to that. So cumulatively, Baltimore County has lost about $450 million of state funding from that cut to do things like roads, bridges, sidewalks, bike lanes. For perspective, that's enough money to basically take all of our roadways, taking that paver data, to put all of our roads to average condition or fair condition. And that says nothing about the other needs in transportation. In addition, the state has this program called LOTS, Locally Operated Transit Funding. If you look at the amount of money Baltimore County gets, we get less than $1 million a year. This program supports things like County Ride and the Loop. The Loop costs alone a lot more than $900,000, and so Baltimore County is shouldering the vast majority of those fixed route transit options. We would love to expand those options to other communities throughout Baltimore County, but without an additional investment from the state, we just don't see the pathway to doing that. Montgomery County, which is only about 200,000 people more than Baltimore County, gets 41 times the amount that we get. But $41 million against $1 million is a pretty significant gap. And so while we're not necessarily looking to take anything away from our peers across the state, we are saying we would like to be treated more equitably in future transportation decisions. One of the things that we heard loud and clear from prior town halls were related to this idea of vibrant communities. And so we're very proud, for example, that since last year's town halls, we now have a vibrant, robust New Americans Task Force. I want to thank Juliana Valencia Banks from our Office of Immigrant Affairs for her work there. That group is doing looking at all issues for our New Americans, but in particular, an issue that came up loud and clear was trying to find ways to better support our New Americans around issues of healthcare access. And so that is one place where that task force continues to work. We have also heard loud and clear, and we are now expediting the testing of cold case sexual assault evidence. That is now years ahead of prior estimates, thanks to the hard work of many of our team. We expect to have that done by the end of this year, and again, incredible work done. We also formed a working group to support the victims of sexual assault and domestic violence. We want to support our survivors and make sure that we have all of the appropriate resources in place to help them. We continue to make significant investments in our cultural institutions, notably the Natural History Society of Maryland has been, hello, yes. We're proud to have supported you all the past two capital budgets as a gem among other incredible institutions in Baltimore County and the Baltimore region, our JCC, our Lerman Woodland Theater, Shock Trauma, and the Irvine Nature Center are among the other ones. I'll just say for Shock Trauma, we actually doubled our investment in Baltimore County. The money that they get from us is being used to do Stop the Bleed trainings, which is very personal in a way for us. I had a chance to visit two of our heroes in Shock Trauma, unfortunately, this year, but they were saved both by the action of their fellow officers, Detective Chi and Officer Jordan. If not for the fast action of officers applying tourniquets and the incredible leaders at Shock Trauma, they wouldn't be with us. And so they're heroes in their own right, but we also want to thank Councilman Ertel and his colleagues for supporting that increase to Shock Trauma. We also continue to support our seniors, who account for 25% of our population, with the Because program, helping to make investments to have our seniors stay in place and age in place. Significant investments in senior centers across Baltimore County to improve conditions there. We've established a new Baltimore County Volunteer Center through our Department of Aging, and want to continue to be an advocate and ally for our seniors. So that's where we are this year. Let's talk about the budget ahead. Every year, the County Council puts forward spending affordability guidelines, which basically says, county executive, don't spend more than, here's the line, don't spend more than this. We take that rate of growth and we apply it to the budgets that are given to our departments and really set their targets for what they can spend. so that we are prioritizing smart use of taxpayer funding. Last year's spending affordability number was 4.79%, that the council said we can grow our budget about that much to keep pace with what we expect to come in. That growth percentage basically transitioned to $114 million. Of that $114 million, this is where it went. First and foremost, we invested in our people, our most important resource in county government. 42% of those historic salary increases, 31% to those historic investments in our school system, 18% more benefits for active and retiree health care, 5% to our community college, supporting things like tuition-free access for working families. Just 4% went to new programs, which were largely driven by conversations with communities across Baltimore County. If we jump into that 4%, you'll see that we now have crossing guards at most of our sites because we invested more in paying them and hiring additional contractors. We put forward what I think is a leading the nation program for relieving student loan debt for county employees, one more investment in our employees. So again, that could also probably be counted in sort of salaries or employee investment. We put forward additional money for second sets of turnout gear for our amazing volunteer firefighters. We created a new medical duty officer program to help facilitate the drop-off and pickup of folks at our hospitals. And we put forward resources to more fully build out an Office of Agriculture in Baltimore County. But as we look ahead, I want to be clear-eyed with all of you about the challenges that we'll face as we go through this budget season. We have been very lucky with, I think, smart budgeting practices. The federal money have been incredibly helpful. But as we move ahead, we know that there are going to be some constraints on our ability to do a lot more. We face a very uncertain state budget picture. The legislature is currently in session. And so as Delegate Jackson and his colleagues contemplate how do we pay for things like transportation, how do we address and tackle the structural deficit, how do we tackle things like the CADE formula for community college, which at least initially is being proposed to be significantly cut. In the original budget presentation before the legislature, this wasn't their budget proposal, but there's about a $4 million cut to our community college over what they were expecting. And so that's a real challenge if that sustains, that we're going to have to figure out locally, either with local dollars or with increases on the families who I think can least afford to pay to go to have that credential or have that certification. We know that we have reached the conclusion of our ARPA dollars, so we no longer have that $160 million to help support our budget. We don't have the privilege or the luck of having the $600+ million that our peers in the city receive, but again, I think we use our money strategically and smartly to deploy for our residents. Like every other business is facing, we know that the cost of things like health care for both our retirees and our active employees is outpacing the rate of growth. So we're actually going to have to find ways to pay for that delta in other places. And of course, we want to pay our employees more every year with things like inflation and the pinch that so many people are feeling. So the impact of inflation is not only pinching the wallets of working families, but we also know that it's making our projects harder to bring to completion, and they're making our capital projects cost more. So keeping our capital projects that we've talked about the past 5 years on schedule and on budget is a real priority. Bringing those things home is going to be really important for us. I just want to be clear on the front end that it's really unlikely that we're going to be able to deliver a whole lot of big new projects in this year's budget. We want to make sure that the things that we've promised are brought to fruition, and that where we can make a difference elsewhere, that we're working with you to prioritize those additional investments. Because just in the county's general government buildings, there's over $300 million of current need. We had a system-wide look, just like we have over $3 billion of need in our schools, we have well over $300 million of immediate need in our county buildings. So you put all that together, we've got a challenging budget ahead, but it's nothing that we can't get through together. And so, I'm a firm believer that listening to all of you about your priorities on both the operating and capital side. I have every confidence that working with Councilman Ertel, we're going to put together a budget that everybody can rally behind and be excited about. So with that, here's the timeline for the budget. We're going to have these town halls through March. I will submit my budget to Councilman Ertel, Chairman Patoka, and others on April 11th. They will review it through April and May, and they have to submit approval sometime before May 31st. The budget will take effect on July 1st. So with that, I'm going to turn the microphone back over to Mandy for some last-minute instructions, and we're looking forward to hearing from you. Thanks, everybody.
All right, good evening. So again, we have 2 mics located here in front of the auditorium in the aisleways. We are going to ask that if you are here tonight to share testimony, to please stand at these mics. So we have one on each side. Again, just a couple housekeeping rules for tonight's testimony. We are asking you to please keep your comments this evening to 90 seconds. There is a timer clock here located in the front of the auditorium. So again, that timer is going to buzz at the end of your 90 seconds. And then if you are to go over that, we are going to ask you to please wrap your comment. So we ask that you stay at the 90 seconds. And again, if you are finishing out your comment, we ask that you please make sure you wrap, very soon after that 90-second mark. We also this evening will have a option to submit your testimony online through our website, through our email, which is just townhall@baltimorecounty.gov, if we cannot get to you this evening by 8:30. Again, we will wrap tonight at 8:30, and we will have to leave the building by 8:45, just to be mindful to BCPS and them hosting us here this evening. So we'll go ahead and get this show started. Thank you.
Good evening, County Executive Olszewski, Councilman Ertel, and the citizens of the 6th District, home of the county seat and some of the Baltimore County's oldest communities. I appreciate the outstanding support both you have given the fire department throughout your tenure. My name is John Sabiga. I am the president of Baltimore County Professional Firefighters and Paramedics Local 1311. I used to represent approximately 1,040 members. Our numbers are down approximately 120 operational members. Last year in 2023, the fire department through EMS and fire calls collectively responded to over 224,000 calls. As you know, we are currently struggling with hiring, recruitment, and retention. I know the budgetary process is currently happening, and that is why I am here. The fire department is projected to be approximately $8 million over budget on our overtime costs. To try and rein in this budget over shortfall, the fire department has decided to close 2 engine companies daily on a rotating basis. We believe this is an unsafe and dangerous practice and needs to end. We need your help. We need to invest in our efforts to hire more fire and EMS personnel. We need to collectively solve long-standing problems and make the Baltimore County Fire Department the most attractive fire and EMS department in the state of Maryland to work for, where people want to start and end their careers. The fire department hired a third-party company to do an in-depth, comprehensive analysis of how the fire department operates. The analysis identified and recommended a series of necessary changes. We need to invest and begin to make those needed changes happen. Many of those changes are directly related to fire and EMS services providing safety for our personnel. Local 1311 appreciates all the progress we have made collectively on fire department issues and problems. Now is the time to collectively move the fire department forward and invest in fixed long-standing issues, fund additional EMS and fire staffing, end the rotating closures of fire engines, and save money, and finally put into place recommendations as outlined in the third party. As you have always been, you have my sincerest obligations, Councilman Ertel and County Executive Olszewski, to collaboratively work together to solve these issues. Thank you for the time tonight, and be safe.
Thank you, John, and thank you to the entire membership.
Thanks, guys.
And thank you for the meeting yesterday. I appreciated the chance to go in depth about some of the concerns that you're raising, both here, but also to talk about it. So thank you very much.
Good evening, District 6 residents, County Executive Olszewski, and Councilman Ertel, and all other officials tonight. My name is Jim Hudson, and I represent District 6 on the Baltimore County Commission on Veterans Affairs. This is a new commission established at the end of 2022. Some of you may know Baltimore County has the third largest veteran population in Maryland with over 42,000 veterans. The Commission's mission is to advocate for county veterans and their families and to connect them with resources through education and outreach. This year, we ask for support as the Commission takes on 3 important initiatives. First, hosting the county's Veteran Day celebration and resource fair at Towson University. This past November, we had our first celebration and it was a great success. Secondly, we are establishing a veteran suicide prevention program throughout the county. Finally, we want to help county veterans bridge the digital divide through the Computers for Veterans program. These 3 programs will work to improve the lives of veterans in District 6 and across the county. We thank you for your continued support of this commission and the veterans we serve.
Thanks, Jim, for all your hard work on the
Yeah.
commission.
It was a great resource fair too, so thanks, Jim.
Yeah, it went well.
A man died on Friday. He was the father of 5. If you heard the news media reports, they'll say 2 dogs killed him because the media does not want to report that pit bulls are killing 2/3 of all humans killed by dogs in this country. Every 13 days, a person is killed by a pit bull on average in the United States for the last 18 years. I am a 5-time pit bull survivor. I had to use this the 5th time to save my life. And my brain knew that when this pit bull was charging at me, that this was not a normal dog running to play with me. And I was lucky to have this as he kept jumping at my throat. And I kept shoving it in his face. And the people in the dog run over there were standing watching. And I had her leash hooked over my shoulder to keep her protected. The owner of the pit bull stood behind me and said, "Don't hurt my dog." The police refused to even take a report because there was no broken skin. This was the 5th pit bull attack I survived. The first one killed my previous dog. He was a nice pit bull. He belonged to a nurse. He played off leash in the public park for 8 years. And then one day out of nowhere, just ran across the park, grabbed my girl by the throat, ripping the leash from my hands, pinned her and started crushing her neck. The shelters are stuffed with them. People are breeding them in their homes. I went to LabCorp and the technician showed me on her phone her 10 puppies that her 1.5 pit bull dog had just bred. They're everywhere. I can't find a place to live because even when they say restricted breed, they bring them in there because people go online and have them designated as ESA dogs, and I can't find a safe place to live. Please give us laws like PG County has. They're banned there. They didn't take anyone's pit bull away, but they demand that they all be muzzled, spayed, and neutered so we don't get more and we don't keep getting inundated. I'm sorry. The Cuddle Bus is adopting them out in our malls. In front of our malls, they're adopting out pit bulls. I went and I told them I was a 5-time pit bull victim, and they told me, "I don't like your attitude." Thank you for the extra time. I won't make you trip.
Thank you, ma'am.
My name is Jeffrey Budnitz. I'm here in 2 capacities. My first capacity is with the Ruxton Riderwood Lake Roland Area Improvement Association, and we're requesting additional resources for DPW and for DEPS related to being able to maintain waterways throughout the community regarding flooding. Frequently, flooding is triggered by waterways that are obstructed and water backflowing into the broader community. I would also ask for additional resources for Baltimore County Property Management relative to the number of assets they manage through our community. In my capacity as an executive board member of the Lake Roland Nature Council, I am very supportive of additional funds for the Department of Rec and Parks under Bob Smith's leadership, with the caveat that we continue working on the concerns that we've discussed previously that are impacting the 4 nature councils that cover 2,600 acres in Baltimore County. I have 2 letters, one for both of you, from the presidents of the nature councils.
Thanks, Jeffrey. Thank you. Yep.
Thanks, Jeff.
Hello, my name is Susan Bollinger. I hold many titles. I am a wife, mother, Mimi, CPA, CFO, EMT firefighter, and many others. One of the titles I value the most is President of the Baltimore County Volunteer Firefighters Association. I value this title because I get to represent the greatest group of people I know. These are the people that jump up from their dinner table or run out of their family event because someone they do not even know is in harm's way. These are the people that give up their nights and weekends to take hundreds of hours of training just so they can ride the ambulance, rescue, engine, truck, or squad. These are the people that miss date night to go to a training exercise because in this field you can never stop learning. These people look out for each other. These people are family. These people hang out in buildings that need renovated and repaired and hold much less comfort than their homes. These people respond in vehicles that are not state of the art. These people juggle home, work, family life to find time to volunteer to help others in their time of greatest need. With all these time demands, I feel it is impossible to ask them to give up one more hour from their family just to cover another fundraiser so that we can pay the bills. Our proposed budget for fiscal year 25 has a $225,000 increase that doesn't even cover the fuel and utility costs in the last 2 years. We either have to hope some of our neighboring companies don't spend their money or have fundraisers to cover these expenses. The volunteers are working extremely hard to meet the increasing call volume and demands of operations and do not have extra resources to raise all the additional money. I ask that you please help support these great people I call my family and friends. We have a great service of career and volunteer members. We need the funds to be able to operate more efficiently, respond more, recruit more members, and become more sustainable. We have done enough studies. We know we are understaffed and underfunded. Let's work together to fix these issues because when we succeed, we all succeed.
Thanks, Susan.
Thank you, Susan.
Hello, my name is Kim Harrison. I don't have anything written. I'm kind of just speaking from the heart. I want to thank you for the buildings and the monies that have been put into parks and recs and parks in the last year. We appreciate it. I am also a member of the Overly Fullerton Rec Council. In Overly Fullerton area, in the zone area, we only have one building, which is the Fullerton Community Center. We rely on the school systems to allow us to use their facilities. However, as you know, there's a new school coming in our area, and over the years, it has only been able to be used by the Perry Hall White Marsh community. So my question has been, how many people that live in the Perry Hall White Marsh community can walk to that facility and participate in a rec program? Probably none. There's Castle Stone, there's Kings Court, there's the shelter that's there that have not used the fields in the past, will not be able to use this building in the future because it belongs to Perry Hall White Marsh Rec Council. I'm just asking for consideration that it's be able to be used in our community.
That's great. Thank you, Kim. Actually, if you haven't connected with Director Bob Smith lately,
I have.
It's very timely. So when I mentioned sort of like
And
and
I just want to tell you, the answer has always been Perry Hall White Marsh.
So when I talked about reimagining how we do recreation programming, so it's a couple things. First is we're trying to re-enter a negotiation with BCPS about our shared use agreement so that we are getting as much access as possible with our schools. We obviously want to have our kids be able to play their school sports first and then try to get rec in behind that. But part of the other piece of that work and why we're putting this platform together is so that truly rec programs, we've sort of view like we want all of our rec communities to have access to these buildings, as you're pointing out. And so what this reimagination will do is basically say, as a rec program, you will have access to more buildings across Baltimore County, and because we're going to prioritize rec first. That's not to say that we will still find places for travel teams and club teams and then also eventually open it up to the public. But part of what we've seen is a challenge is in some places, there's been a blanket permit for some rec councils that weren't always used. And so there were hours and times where certain time slots were completely being wasted that first and foremost other rec councils should have access to. And then from there we could have club teams and travel teams and then even some additional public access as part of that. So part of this reimagination, and we'd love to have your support and your council support, is making sure that we're best utilizing these rec amenities because these are incredible opportunities for our young people.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Kim.
Anything, was that okay there, Bob? All right.
County Executive, Councilman Ertel. My name is Jamie Kahn. I'm a 40-year member of Lutherville Volunteer Fire Company. I also chair the Capital Revolving Loan Fund of the Baltimore County Volunteer Firefighters Association. As has been mentioned, our cost of operations continues to increase. As I mentioned at last week's meeting, our apparatus, our engines now have gone from $620,000 to $833,000. Our rescue trucks have gone from $1 million to $1.5 million. Our ladder trucks have gone, now approach $1.7 million. And while we're very appreciative of the support you've given us in the $1.7 million dedicated to replacing our medic units, we have not had any support over the last 10 years to increase the amount for our major apparatus. What we'd like you to do is consider additional funding that will allow us to bring the down payments for our volunteer companies down. Right now, they have to fund 25% of the cost of all new apparatus. With that rising cost, our smaller companies really don't have the ability to have that funding. We would like to bring it down to something like 20% or maybe 15%, which would be much more reasonable for the volunteer stations. So we hope you would consider additional funding for that loan fund.
Yeah, thanks, Jamie. Appreciate all you do.
Thanks, Jamie.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Tracy Dowling. I am the Mathematics Department Chair at Overlea High School and a former BCPS Teacher of the Year finalist. If we're going to be the strong and scenic District 6, we need to talk about what Kenwood Avenue looks like in front of Overlea High School. I am very thankful for the sidewalk project that will begin in June and how hard everyone worked to make that happen. However, there is more work to be done. The lighting in front of the school is significant because it is minimal at best. The lack of speed cameras, a reduced speed limit during school hours, and the not real speed bump are a concern. Today we had an accident on Kenwood Avenue. A vehicle flipped over while students were arriving this morning. I do not want to be the teacher who loses a student because of a preventable accident. I want to make sure that we have a 360 perspective about all the items needed at Kenwood Avenue in front of Overlea High School. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Tracy.
I love that your slogan's catching on already, Councilman.
Yes.
Just very briefly on the speed camera situation. So first of all, we, in partnership with the council, actually are going to be expanding the number of sites at school locations where we're deploying cameras. We're doing 15 additional sites currently. In addition, the Baltimore County House and Senate delegations are hearing legislation, and Carl's the vice chair, about expanding further our ability to have cameras in other communities. So other communities have expressed a desire. Basically, state law says they have to be at school sites. What we have said is we welcome that authority to the extent the legislature is comfortable giving it, and we obviously will use data and partner with communities in terms of any deployments. We're not looking to just throw them anywhere, but that's one thing. I'd also suggest that I think Director DeAndrea Walker is here, so if there are specific questions around lighting or other sort of infrastructure improvements, we can get your information and make sure we keep you up to date.
Thank you, appreciate it.
And I can tell you as council people, and I know Councilman Patoka can vouch for this, speeding by far is the #1 issue we hear at community meetings, at neighborhood meetings, and we hear you loud and clear. People are crazy, and we need to deal with it.
Good evening, Executive Olszewski, Councilman Ertel. My name is Rob DeFord. I serve as the president of the Baltimore County Land Trust Alliance, which supports the preservation work of the land trusts in Baltimore County. I want to thank the County Council and the Olszewski administration for their consistent support of land preservation and for providing office space for the Land Trust Alliance at the Ag Center. on Shawan Road. Land preservation programs are a critical tool to help farmers keep their land in the family. I'm proud that Baltimore County is recognized as a national leader in land preservation. Bond issues to fund land preservation are on the ballot every election, and they typically receive greater than 70% voter approval. The popularity of these programs is due to the many public benefits they provide: open space for recreation, a source of fresh local food, a vibrant rural economy, historic preservation, clean air and drinking water, wildlife habitat, protection of forest land. The list goes on, not to mention a buffer against climate change. What I'm essentially asking for tonight is continued funding. I'd like to see us get up to parity with our neighboring counties, which actually dedicate significantly more as a percent of their total budget. I've heard loud and clear that our budget is challenged. I respect that, but I would like to make sure that land preservation still has a place at the table. I believe it's important for every citizen in Baltimore County, regardless of where you live. Thank you very much.
Hear, hear. Rob, you'll be happy to know that we are planning another increase in our bond referendum amount. Director Kevin Reed of Budget and Finance can walk you through sort of what the sketch looks like. It's not finalized until we actually submit it and the council approves it, but very early on, I wanted to try to continue to move us along towards closer to our peer jurisdiction. So, yep.
Hello, my name is Samantha Flores, and this is Lee Shaw. We are here today representing Towson High School's Hispanic Student Union. I'm here to ask that you make sure your departments are able to help people who don't speak English too well. Too often, parents are taking their kids out of school to help them translate. Kids need to be in school learning, not taking care of adult things. Because there aren't people who are willing to use interpreters, there are many great things in Baltimore County, but people who don't speak English too well don't know about them. Because there isn't information about them in the language they speak. Also, I want you to hear me when I say, I'm not just talking about Spanish. I'm lucky to have friends from many different countries, and like my family, theirs came to find safety and a better life. Learning a new language takes time, and while people are working 2 to 3 jobs, sometimes it might take longer. And that's why we need everyone who works for you to be able to help people regardless of what language they speak. If it's hard for Latino immigrants who only speak Spanish to find information and get help, imagine what it must feel like for families that speak Dari or Kichi. Thank you.
Thank you,
Samantha. Good job.
Buenas noches, mi nombre es Mirta Largueta García, soy miembro de casa, residente del condado. Ya yo voy a decir un poquito de lo que pasa en mi vida, que soy muy enferma y he tenido problemas para que me atiendan por no tener un seguro médico.
Good evening, my name is Mirta Argueta. I'm a resident of Baltimore County for the last 16 years. I'm here to tell you a little bit about some of the things I have experienced because of my health issues.
Y por eso me ha tocado ir hasta Silver Spring para poder atenderme allá, pero allá no me pueden atender por no vivir en esa zona.
I've had to go to Silver Springs to seek medical care, but because I'm not a resident of that county, they will not serve me.
Por eso estoy en esta noche para pedirles que si nos apoyen para tener un seguro médico para uno estar mejor. Gracias.
That's why I'm here to ask if you could please make sure that we can have access to health care.
Thank you so much. Gracias.
Thank you.
Good evening, Councilman and County Executive O. One small request for your list before you go. Please open your minds and wallets for consideration. We need more open space for passive recreation. Towson no longer is a quaint county seat, but a bustling urban core where people live, work, and eat. High-rise offices, high-density units, lots of money lining developers' pockets. No wonder neighboring homeowners feel forgotten. But what to our wondering eyes should appear 4 acres of green space so precious and near. The former Presbyterian home site is obviously clear, the desired green oasis that makes all of us cheer. County workers at lunchtime escape from their cubicles for a walk around the old Bosley Mansion, relaxing strained pupils. Fresh air, blue skies, getting high off the grass, don't you know? Not the kind that you smoke, but the kind that you mow. 3 failed development plans are all but forgotten. Now the property is available, time to be bought. Set a high appraisal, pay half in state POS money and cash, the rest a tax write-off, done in a flash. The home's owner unloads a depreciating asset while you come across for once as a real class act. It satisfies
For once? It was so good.
It satisfies the Towson Community Plan, nothing musical, hardly a heavy lift, inspired, almost Seussical. Use the brains in your head, move the feet in your shoes, and steer yourself along the right course to choose. Acquire the Presbyterian home property to no one's dread, and I'll retract the grumbling about you both that I might have said.
That was good.
Thanks, Mike.
Mike, do you have information about the property owner and who's if you could connect with I thought it was Director Smith. I don't know what. Deborah, you're volunteering to take this on now? He's here. We'll just make sure that he has the information so we can have our folks take a look at it from the POS perspective. So happy to. Thanks. No promises, but we'll look at it.
Hello and good evening, County Executive, Johnny, Councilmember Mike Ertel. My name is Viviana Lozano. I am a community organizer from CASA. Thanks for the announce last year of the task force for healthcare access. But with all due respect, this is like giving a candy to a kid that's crying without knowing the real reason why he's crying. My question is if it is going to be include a budget, a real solution for the immigrant community that are suffering with little clinics that are not enough for the population growing in this county.
We will continue to do all that we can to support our immigrant communities. I will say, as it relates to access to health care, it has become clear that as a broader community, we have to do more. I know that our Office of Government Affairs, for example, will be going to testify in support of allowing access to the health exchange in Maryland. I know there's also legislation forthcoming for things like the Time to Care Act. So we very much believe there are opportunities. I always want to be transparent and honest. I think there is a balance between what we believe is a state responsibility versus what local governments can or should be doing. But to the extent we can be at the table with you and others, we want to continue that dialogue to find those solutions. Thank you.
Buenas noches, mi nombre es Carlos. Una vez más estamos aquí, sabemos que venimos, pensarán que venimos a pedir, ¿verdad?
Good evening, my name is Carlos. Once again, we're here, and you must be thinking that we're here to ask for something.
Pero sí nos gustaría que consideraran o tomaran en cuenta esto que les voy a pedir hoy en la noche.
But I would ask that you take into consideration what I'm going to ask tonight.
Nos gustaría ver una oficina para inmigrantes.
We would like to see an office for immigrant affairs.
Y no nada más para nuestra comunidad hispana. Sabemos que hay mucha necesidad de otros tipos de lenguajes.
And not just for the Latino community. We know that there's just as equal need throughout the different communities.
Que sería una oficina bilingüe de varios idiomas.
It would be a multilingual office.
Sabemos que hay mucha necesidad, no nada más en el país, sino aquí en el estado de Maryland, que está creciendo.
We know that there's lots of needs throughout the country, but also here in this state, in this county, our immigrant community is growing.
Y sí nos gustaría ver a un futuro no lejano, ver esa oficina, que realmente funcione para nuestra comunidad, y vuelvo y les digo, no para la comunidad hispana, sino aquí hay mucha gente que no quiere venir a estas reuniones, quizás por miedo, porque no saben o por el idioma, porque no nada más es español el que se habla aquí, hay varios idiomas.
Again, I want to ask that this office be created not just for the Latino community, but for all of the different immigrant communities. Many immigrant communities don't attend to these meetings, and possibly it's because of fear or lack of connection or awareness of the different county services.
Gracias.
Thank you.
Gracias.
My name is Evan. We need a bigger street so we can drop off other kids safely. And we need a sidewalk so accidents don't happen to kids or in parents.
Do you have pictures you can share with me?
So where do you live?
Featherbed Lane.
Featherbed Lane?
Can I keep this? Oh, Featherbed Lane Elementary School.
Oh, nice.
What's your name? Evan? What's your good stuff? Got it.
Good work.
Thanks for coming out.
Good work.
Can I keep this? Okay, great.
We're going to have Director Walker and her team take a look at Featherbed Lane here. So thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Buenas noches, Ejecutivo Johnny y Consejero Mike.
Good evening, Council Executive Johnny and Councilman Mike.
Una vez más, la señora Lucía Islas, presidente del Comité Latino de Baltimore, viene a hacer una petición, pero hoy como mamá.
My name is Lucia Islas. I'm the president of Comité Latino of Baltimore, and once again I'm here to ask, but today I'm here asking as a mother.
Me gustaría pedirle a usted que contrate más personas como a Recreation Community Supervisor 2 de habla hispana.
I would like to ask that you hire additional recreation specialists that are multilingual.
Nombrado como Pay Schedule 6 Grade 28. Why? Porque mi hijo entró a trabajar en uno de estos centros recreativos, le habían dado muchas horas y le quitaron horas.
The reason I'm asking specifically for this recreational position is because my son currently works for the department and his hours were cut.
Es muy importante, habemos ya mucha gente latina en el condado y necesitamos los parques para salud mental y para un bienestar de los jóvenes. Le pido que invierta dinero en ese tipo de trabajos.
I'm asking that you invest in multilingual positions because our community is growing and our community needs access to recreation spaces and parks for our mental health, for our physical well-being.
Un minuto más. Para que todo esto se logre, es necesario tener la oficina de migrantes donde se va a hablar de todos los inmigrantes, no latinos, nepalí, Afganistán, todos.
Sí, todo.
Gracias.
And this is why we need an Office of Immigrant Affairs where all of these issues will be discussed, because we have Nepali members, we have Afghan community members, we have Latinos. It is not just a Latino issue.
Gracias. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Wilmer. I am from Youth Group at Casa. I stand before you today not just as an individual, but as a voice for many undocumented youth in our community. I'm very grateful for the privilege of becoming a naturalized U.S. citizen through my mother. However, my purpose here is not to discuss my journey, but to shed light on the challenges faced by my peers who do not share the same status. As young people, we often find various opportunities such as summer jobs, CTE programs, and the chance to pursue higher education. Unfortunately, for many of my friends, their immigration status restricts them from accessing these opportunities. They cannot work during the summer, participate in certain programs, and at times struggle to pursue the post-secondary education they aspire to. While there are programs aimed at supporting students and attending college for free or at low cost, the requirements often exclude those who have recently arrived or are trying to build a better future. These individuals, much like myself, are in need of opportunities that they can take advantage of and to be a part of the community they call home. I would like to ask if there are any ongoing efforts or plans to support undocumented youth who are facing these challenges. These youth deserve the opportunity to better themselves and create a better future for us. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
How you doing? My name's Fred Whiten. I live in Towson and have some relatives that live here in the Parkville area. Tonight I want to talk about education. I'm a chief engineer for the largest defense contractor in the world. We have 200,000 employees, and I hire many, many engineers and high-tech people every day. However, I'm really concerned. I have students, some of my kids went to school here in Baltimore County, have graduated Delaney High, for example. I have multiple grandchildren here in Baltimore County now, and hopefully they'll go through the whole entire process. So I want to share some statistics with you and some data that might be useful. This is out of, and again, this data is relevant, may not be precisely accurate, but relevant to the conversation. Public school review out of Baltimore County, and looking at some of the statistics. You have about 171 public schools here in the county. You've got about 107,000 students. So it's a big, large number of folks. What I'm worried about, and you have schools that are doing great, schools that rank really well. Hereford High, for example, and other schools, doing great. What I worry about are the ones that aren't doing great. And I look at the numbers. I'm an engineer. I look at them very deep, and especially in the STEM area, science, technology, and math, okay? Those numbers are not very good. For example, what are those numbers? The average math proficiency is about 14% versus the state average of 19%. Baltimore County High School, an average ranking 5 out of 10, and about 50% versus the peer set in Maryland. And my final point here is the minority enrollment is very high in this county, at around 68% according to the stats that I just looked at. And so what I'm asking to do is to tie the performance to the budget. What I heard was a lot of numbers and a lot of budget, a lot of salary increases. I think that's wonderful. What I'm worried about is this. The performance and outcomes don't represent where we are. In private industry, we tie those numbers together. So I'd ask you to take a look at that. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Dr. Lori Taylor Mitchell, founder of the Student Support Network, a nonprofit organization assisting students living in poverty in Baltimore County public schools. I'm here tonight to ask for your support to increase funding for Summer SNAP for Children, a program that provides $100 a year of supplemental food support during the summer and winter school breaks. Especially during the summer, many low-income families struggle to put food on the table when schools are closed, school meals disappear, and child care costs skyrocket. During these times, children are most likely to experience food insecurity, the lack of access to nutritious food, and hunger, given the low incomes required for SNAP eligibility. For example, to qualify for SNAP, the income for a family of 3 cannot exceed about $32,000 a year. We are very grateful to County Executive Olszewski for leading the way in providing matching funds required by the state to enroll more children in Summer SNAP than any other jurisdiction in Maryland. In 2023, Baltimore County provided Summer SNAP benefits to all children ages 5 to 18, nearly 28,000 children. However, children under the age of 5 were not included. We strongly urge you to work with the county executive and include full funding for Summer SNAP for all eligible children in Baltimore County, including our youngest children, All summer SNAP funds go directly to children in the lowest income schools without additional overhead costs. A final note, 66% of all children attending BCPS live in severe poverty. Over 73,000 students in this school system live in families that cannot make ends meet. Thank you.
Thanks, Laurie. Appreciate
Thanks,
the work that
Laurie.
you guys do.
Good evening. My name is Susana Barrios. I am the Vice President of Latino Racial Justice Circle. And although some of you might see me in, I keep testifying, but I have many issues, so it's not a repeat. But I also live in District 6. My daughter went to school with your daughter, Councilman Ertel. So, but today I'm here to request that you improve and invest in language access plans, especially for government services, like for example, where people go to pay for parking tickets and things like that. I'm also part of the New American Task Force, so I also request that we have invested a lot of time and a lot of our time as volunteers. So I really do request that you read those suggestions, and it's a lot of people from lots of walks of life. So thank you. Good night.
Thank you for serving on the task force as well.
Thank you so much.
Good evening. My name is Tara Lamond, and I live in Parkville. I live on Gerald Drive off of Old Hartford Road near the Villa Cresta neighborhood. I am here to express my support of the DPW&T funding for the historic Parkville Storm and Drain flood assessment of $2.5 million. The reason I am here to express my support of that funding is in July 11th, 2019 and July 10th of 2021, Gerald Drive was flooded with several feet of water within a few minutes, causing over $100,000 of property damage to 3 homes on my street, including my own. The water filled our basement stairwells, collapsing in our basement doors. Homes and cars were also flooded on Evergreen and Harris, which are also near Villa Cresta. Why should we be concerned about this? As a result of climate change, these floods will continue to be more frequent. The cost to maintain and insure my home is increasing every year. Thank you.
Thank you. Sorry you went through all that.
Thanks, Tar.
Good evening. My name is Edwin Perez. I'm a member of the Latino community, a member of the Multilingual Community Partnership, and chairperson of the TABCO Minority Affairs Committee. I'm also a Spanish teacher and co-advisor of Unidos Somos Fuerte, our Latino student union here at Parkville High School, and here are some of my students. Our community continues to welcome multilingual and multicultural students and families. Therefore, we need to support funding for increased multilingual county and community partnerships that support services for students, families, and schools. We also need to expand funding for programs at parks, rec centers, and schools that embrace multilingual and multicultural diversity. We need to increase funding to establish a fully staffed Office of Immigrant Affairs that will serve all of the immigrant communities in Baltimore County. Lastly, we need to establish funding for a county-wide multilingual language access policy so that all of our residents can access county services without any barriers related to language. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Jeff Morris. I'm here to discuss things about this school. You might not like me since you're friends with the principal, but she's the principal that let the 21-year-old in here that raped the girls. This school, during the summertime, is half empty. I cut grass around the neighborhoods. There's kids, hundreds, all around the areas, around the developments. The problem we have is they're breaking into people's yards, stealing stuff. They've been trying to steal my equipment and back of my truck, and they've done to other landscapers as well. And we're sick and tired of it. And this is, hey, say to the principal, if you have some students come back next year with busted up, it's going to be because they're in a place that they shouldn't be in, trying to steal stuff and all. They're supposed to be here on this property, not down 7-Eleven, starting fights, out in the neighborhood, stealing people's property and everything. It's a mess here. Start at 8:30 in the morning. You can go to the Parkville Pavilion, and there's over a dozen kids there at 8:30 in the morning. They're walking the neighborhoods, going to their own houses that they live when their parents ain't home. Like I said, it's just a mess, a tremendous mess around this neighborhood because of this school principal here. The other principal used to have teachers all lined up around the premises, and as the kids come walking up, They have them go into the office, call their parents because they weren't allowed to get on the bus. And she don't care. I've talked to several police officers. They bring the kids back. She lets them walk right back out of the office and out of the school. She's scared of the kids. And like I said, many parents would say something, but they're scared of retaliation to their kids. That's why I can say something now, because my kids done graduated from here. And something serious needs to be done.
I appreciate your perspective, sir. I would just say that it's completely inconsistent with everything I know about Principal Astorita. She is someone who cares about our kids deeply and would never do anything
Do me a
outside
favor.
of their best
Drive
interests.
around here, start at 8:30, 9 o'clock in the morning, around development. You'll see all the kids around in that 7-Eleven and all throughout the developments. You'll see it.
Okay, very good. Thank you, sir.
Hola, muy buenas noches. Mi nombre es Maybelline y soy miembro de Unidos Somos Fuertes.
Good evening. My name is Maybelline. I am a member of Unidos Somos Más Fuertes. United, we are stronger.
Se supone que estamos en un país donde todos recibimos nuestros derechos, pero ¿en dónde están esos derechos?
Supposedly, we live in a country where we all have equal rights, but where are those rights?
¿O solo porque soy hispana no recibiré esos derechos?
Or is it because I'm Hispanic that I won't have access to those same rights?
¿O tendré que esperar hasta morir para por fin obtener esos derechos?
Or will we have to wait until I die for me to be able to have those same rights?
¿Cuándo será el día que nosotros los hispanos y latinos podamos salir a la calle sin el miedo de que seremos juzgados?
When will be the Hispanic community, Latinos, be able to be out in the streets without fear that we will be taken?
Siempre es un regresa a tu país en vez de no te preocupes, tus derechos serán respetados y escuchados.
It is always go back to your country, go back to where you came from, instead of being respected.
Para mejorar esta situación deberíamos crear una comunidad donde podamos convivir todos juntos con los derechos que nos merecemos.
In order to solve this, we should create a community where everybody's rights are valued and everyone is treated well.
Muchas gracias.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Gracias.
We are happy to, if there are folks who are in this line, if you want to like balance it out, or we can also just go one after another on this side too. It doesn't really matter, so that's fine. We're going to close that line. We'll just keep, okay, that's fine.
Mr. Stover.
Good evening. George Stover, president of Fullerton Fireworks Foundation. Fullerton Fireworks Foundation is a nonprofit organization run entirely by community volunteers. The foundation has built one of the largest non-government sponsored fireworks program in the region. The Fullerton Fireworks Foundation plans, promotes, and executes the annual July 4th celebration in the Overly Fullerton area of Baltimore County. For the past 2 years, we've extended the hours of the celebration from starting at 5 p.m. with one band to starting at 2 p.m. with 4 bands. We also offer multiple food vendors for the attendees to enjoy. Our fireworks display is over 25 minutes long, which is longer than any display in the state of Maryland, bar none. The event is supported by nearby communities of Fullerton, Linover, Overly, Elmwood, Belmar, and our neighbors in Perry Hall, White Marsh, Parkville, Rosedale, and Northeast Baltimore City. With attendance up to 12 to 14,000 attending yearly. 2024 will be the 61st anniversary of this event. We are looking for funds to help defray the cost of the event. Sponsorship and donations have shrunk over 50% in the past year. Without your support, this legacy event could be in jeopardy. Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you, sir.
And if we don't already do it, if you want to touch base with Abigail on our economic development team, she's our deputy director who also is a guru on promotions and tourism. We should probably make sure this is part of our, make sure that we're promoting as part of our 4th of July celebrations as well. Hello.
Good evening. Thank you for this opportunity to speak to you. As a class, well, first, my name is Dr. Kelly Hickey. I am a board member for TAPCO, and as a classroom teacher, I encourage not only the recruitment, but the retention of teachers from diverse communities. You see, our students, they deserve to have teachers that can not only relate, but also respect their cultural, racial, and linguistic differences, right? I also encourage you to support after-school activities such as bus services. For example, my school has a Black Excellence program. However, the African American students at the school can't even participate in that program because of lack of funding for buses after school programs. So we have this great program for them, and it encourages critical thinking, study skills, but they can't participate in it because most of them take the bus to school. And the program is an after-school program. So I encourage you to please support us in that, and so that they can participate in these programs. Thank you.
Miss Hickey, what school do you teach at?
Can I tell you?
Yeah.
I don't want my principal to get mad at me.
You can tell us offline.
Do you want to whisper it to us?
Hi, my name is Nancy and I live in Parkville, and I hate to ask for lower property taxes after seeing the budget, but they're too high for senior citizens. I make well under $60,000, and last year I only got $30 off, and the year before that I questioned why I dropped or went up from $1,800 the year before to $2,600 in 2022, I think it was. And then I was audited for 2020 and 2021 and owed $1,000 more between those 2 years, so I ended up, instead of $1,800 the year before, $3,600, and that $1,000 I had to pay for those 2 years doesn't show up anywhere. They said, hold on to the receipt. That's kind of strange to me. So also, I would say go to best practices for Sarasota, because my house that I used to live in down there is valued at $300,000. They pay $1,700. My house in Parkville is valued at $185,000. I pay close to $3,000. So, and they go by millage. They don't go by, speculation on what my house is worth. And so their taxes don't seem to go up as much. Also, medical insurance was high from 62 to 65. I was retired. I was paying like $600 to $1,000 a month for medical insurance. I'm on, thankfully, Medicare, but it's still high. And speaking of that, if you don't want to get the COVID shot, you should not have to get the COVID shot. I don't want to hear I'm on a list. I always got vaccinations for my kids. I had one in the 60s, 70s, and 80s, and it changed, but now they get like 70 doses. That's ridiculous, and the COVID is just something, it's personal choice. You shouldn't be forced to take a vaccination. Thanks for listening. Thanks for having these town halls.
Yeah, thank you for coming out.
Thank you.
Hi guys, welcome to the neighborhood.
Thank you.
I'm Martin Nabali. I'm on the board of the Overley Community Association. We do National Night Out and the holiday tree lighting and support Overley Arts Fest at Holt Park. The crown jewel is definitely the Overley Farmers Market, which is at the Natural History Society. Go see the woolly mammoth, everybody.
Woo!
We partner with Neighborspace, got a pocket park on Beach Avenue, which we're really proud of. We fought against 7-Eleven going on the corner of Fullerton and Bel Air, which we're pretty proud of. But we'd like some support from the county on a couple of items. I'll run through them. Our sidewalks along Bel Air Road, not ADA compliant, not even safe at all. I know that's a bigger issue, but attracting pedestrian traffic to our area businesses is difficult. There's a county-owned lot at St. Michael's. We'd love that to be a little better maintained. And could we explore public EV charging stations in that lot, perhaps? BGE left a pretty big mess east of Bel Air Road in our neighborhood when they did gas line work. They sort of refinished half the street, but pretty much all those roads are in disrepair at this point. We do not have a playground in Overley. Someone already talked about the community center, so I'll skip that. We refer to that as the Margaret Fuller Memorial Community Center, though. We're hoping to get a historic plaque there soon. And we'd like to see no more gas stations. Playground would be great. And help with just making our streetscapes more appealing and attractive. Thanks.
Is Jen Aosa or Seth or anyone here on sustainability? I see some fingers being pointed in the back. Who are you all pointing to in the back? What's that? No, I was thinking sustainability, not OGA. So if you want to go in the back, we'll connect you with our sustainability. Well, because Jen has been doing a lot of work on public EV infrastructure, and so would love to have you connect with her. We'll get you her information and connect. And then also, if you all have suggestions about the locations for a potential playground, would love to have that sort of flow through Director Smith and Rec and Park. So like, if you guys have ideas about places we should be looking, so we'll have you connect for those two conversations at least. Hello.
Good evening. My name is Dave Pittenger. I'm a trustee at the Natural History Society of Maryland, and just wanted to take a few seconds to thank you, County Executive and Councilman Ertel, for your continued and ongoing support for our renovations and all the improvements we're making. We think we're a great community resource, and we really do appreciate that. I also wanted to mention that this year in Annapolis, the delegate and others in the delegation are leading the charge to get the museum designated the Natural History Museum for the state of Maryland. So with that and the ongoing, we want to thank you as well for your continued support. So just ending with a quick, maybe a bit of an apology. I was hoping to be joined here tonight by our newest member at the museum, our woolly mammoth, but after 10,000 years, she doesn't, or I'm not sure whether it's a he or she, they don't get around the way they used to, so you're going to have to come and see them.
That's pretty good. I'm hearing good things about the exhibit, so I'm hearing it's pretty incredible.
She might not have liked all the steps either.
Yeah, that's right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Caitlin Clem-Kellner. I am the president of the Linover Improvement Association, and we are here tonight. We're echoing a lot of the same issues that Overley is having. I apologize that I am late on our letter that we usually send out every year. In there, it will detail about needs for sidewalk connectivity, ADA accessibility, increased enforcement on things like cars parking on sidewalks, curbs, lighting, trailers just being parked illegally, police enforcement. But I'm also here to thank you, County Executive, for putting Bel Air Road in the priority letter to MDOT. And as we hear grave reports coming from Annapolis about the Department of Transportation and funding, we are respectfully asking that you do include Bel Air Road in the priority letter this year. I got a police report that there were over 30 accidents in just a 3-month period from 695 to the Baltimore City County line on Bel Air Road. In our letter, we will have photos. This is the aftermath, and I'll give this to you, of an accident that just happened the other week where an 18-year-old spent over a week in a hospital, and luckily nobody was at the bus stop because they would have been killed. We are in need of help in traffic calming throughout our entire community. So thank you so much, and please continue to have these town halls. So
Thanks,
thank
Caitlin.
you.
Appreciate it.
Thanks, Caitlin.
Yeah, it's in the letter too that I'll send out.
Good evening, County Executive. Good evening, Councilman. Thank you for having this tonight. My name is Shannon Sheets. I'm on the board of the Hartford Park Community Association. And what I'm here to talk to you tonight about briefly is the Hartford Park, which is the park that our association is named after. As the Councilman is very well aware, our community is about 5 years into a 2-year utility project. And part of the impact of that has been a lot of damage to the Hartford Park. They had to tear up and dig down more than 20 feet in sections to replace sewer mains and water mains. and the park is meant to be restored to the baseline of what it was prior to the beginning of the utility work. However, the park has been neglected for more than 20 years. We have playground equipment that is unfunctional. We don't really have picnic tables or benches. We don't have garbage cans. And I think it would be a prime opportunity for us to take a look at the Harford Park and make it something that the community can enjoy. We don't need anything. We're not looking for a Cadillac-style park here. We would just like, some picnic tables and benches and maybe some renovations of the existing courts, a little new playground equipment, things like that. And I know that you said that the budget is tight this year, but this is the type of small project that really can impact a small community and the wider community beyond really greatly. So we'd appreciate your consideration of that type of work for the Harford Park. Thank you.
Director Smith, you were like the most popular
Thanks, Shannon.
man tonight. Just want to make sure you have his information so that as we're, I will say this about Rec and Parks, they have really pushed and prioritized significant funding for the court resurfacings, for the playground, for the local park replenishment. These are all things that, unfortunately, as you've pointed out, unfortunately that story is true in communities across Baltimore County where we've gone 20, 30, 40, 50 years without circling back. We're putting a major dent because of our partners at the state and county level. But we want to make sure we're touching those. So if we can make sure it's on our list, if we're able to fund those continued programs ahead, we want to try to get to it. So thank you.
Good evening, County Executive Olszewski and Councilman Ertel. My name is Penelope Huff, and I'm a volunteer with CASA, which is the acronym for Court Appointed Special Advocates, different from the other CASA organization that was here. But we work one-on-one with children in the foster care system. I am here to ask you to fund a vital position for a youth engagement specialist who would work with our older youth to help them age out of foster care successfully. Let's address the stark reality. These children find themselves in foster care through no fault of their own. They're removed from their homes due to circumstances such as abuse, neglect, addiction, imprisonment, or tragedy. I would argue that they are the most vulnerable segment of our population and of our county. CASA is actually written into Maryland law, so it is the only nonprofit authorized to provide individual support and advocacy within the child welfare system. We work together with the Department of Social Services and with the courts, but we are a separate entity. And because of that, we can support a very overburdened child welfare system. Tonight, I ask you to consider funding a youth engagement specialist. Older foster care youth face the daunting challenge of transitioning to adulthood without the safety net and guidance typically provided by loving parents and family. Without intervention, they are at high risk of homelessness, entanglement in the criminal justice system, teen pregnancy, unemployment, and on and on. Yeah. And I would argue all of these have the propensity to impact welfare and crime in our county.
Sure.
A youth engagement specialist would work directly with our older youth, equipping them with the tools to navigate this critical juncture in their lives. So, based on my firsthand experience, I can attest to the urgent need, and I ask you to support us.
Thanks. Can I ask a clarifying question?
Sure.
So is the thought or the request that this would be a county-funded position within CASA, or that we would have a position in county government that partnered with your organization?
Oh, I'd take both. But yes, yeah. Now that you brought it up, what about that pay-as-you-go, that you talked about in your budget? We're asking for fiscal 2025, but no, it is for the position within CASA.
Okay.
But we would take what we get.
Sure.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Gentlemen, thank you for being here tonight. The good
Clem.
news is I'm the last speaker, it looks like. The bad news is I have the same message that Caitlin talked about a little bit. I'm a lifelong resident of that one-way street that's across from the Royal Farms. I've been struck there recently, waiting to turn down my street. It's an unreported accident. The numbers Caitlin talked about are the ones the police respond to. There's accidents there all the time that the police don't respond to. Somebody's going to get killed there. From the Beltway to Taylor Avenue is dangerous. Mike's been on my street. Mike has stood on my front lawn. One of your slides said there's a traffic calming device on Lynn High Avenue. It's at the very end of Lynn High. Does nothing for the drag strip that's in front of my house. Does nothing for the cars that go down that street. Just recently, 4 cars sideswiped Lynn High Avenue. That road is dangerous. 92% of the residents of Lynn Over that responded to surveys said this is their primary concern. Traffic is horrible. We've asked for help. We've had a little from the police. One time they sat at a 4-way stop sign. They wrote multiple tickets, arrested 2 individuals. The police department said it was like shooting fish in a barrel. That's how bad it is in the neighborhood. We need traffic calming. We need support. We need that traffic looked at. I know it's a state highway. I know that's a problem. Please put us in your budget. Please put us in your letter. We need the county support on that.
Yeah. Thank you. We will absolutely continue to support you in our request to the state. We are navigating the dichotomy of the county versus state roads, but I will make sure that our Department of Public Works continues to work with you in the community, especially on the roads that we are in control of and can act on without state approvals and authorities, but we'll still continue to advocate alongside the community with the state. I know Delegate Jackson and others in the district have also been pushing MDOT to be more intentional about addressing the concerns that I know are very real. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Before I give Councilman Ertel the final word, I'll just say thank you all for making the time. We truly do benefit from your input and your wisdom. You are the ones who are living and breathing the needs of your communities every day. So it is my hope and intention that, as we always do, that we do our very best within the constraints that the council sets for us to have a budget that reflects your values and the needs of your community. So thank you to Councilman Ertel for his partnership, but most importantly, thanks to all of you. Appreciate you being here. Mike?
Thank you. CE? Just a few quick words. When I ran, one of the things I often said at the door was, at our level, at the county level, it's all about quality of life. And quality of life is everything from stormwater runoff to speeding to crime to vacant homes. We have a lot of work that we're dealing with at the county. We're trying to make things better. We have challenges every day. I'm always amazed at the amount of things on my plate, from code enforcement to wrecking parks. We really are trying to get some things done, and it's a testament to everyone to be here tonight, just to talk about their issues. And we appreciate you being here and know that you are being heard. If you want to follow up with certain things, you can certainly call the county exec's office, and certainly call my office. We're here to advocate for you. As council people especially, my job is to advocate for the communities that I represent. And often people look at us sometimes and go, oh, well, they have their own agenda, they're doing their thing. But really what we do, we're first-tier representation to the people, and that means that we're there to advocate for a lot of the things that are needed in our communities. You heard a wide breadth of things tonight that we need and that we need to work on. And we're growing as a county. We're changing demographically. We've got a lot of things to work on, our school system, a lot of different things. So we're in partnership in doing that, and thanks again for coming tonight, and we appreciate you being here.